Hi there, it's Miss Lewis here. I'm going to be taking you through how to answer the 12 marker on the GCSE paper. Now I've gone for a Germany question that I'm going to talk you through today. This video will focus on how we approach this question, so I won't be writing a model paragraph in this video. There will be a second video for that. This is just how do we approach it. So before I even start answering this question and I start writing my lovely paragraphs, I need to figure out how do I approach the question. So how do I unpack this? Okay, now the way to think about this is similar to a hotel room. It's a new environment, can be a little bit daunting, but how do I unpack that room and make it more comfortable for me? So the first thing I would do is unpack my clothes. It's a bit more familiar for me, it's a lot more comfortable. So how do I unpack this question? Let's read the question to begin with. Explain why Hitler was able to create a dictatorship in the period February 1933 to August 1934. You may use the following in your answer: the Reichstag fire, the Night of the Long Knives. You must also use your own information. So, I've just read the question, okay? There's quite a lot to it. To simplify this question, we are looking at why an event has happened, okay? Now, the event is, how was Hitler able to create a dictatorship, okay? And then it's explain why. So what are the causes, okay? So let's break this down. So firstly, I am going to highlight what the event is, okay? So Hitler being able to create a dictatorship from February 1933 to August 1934, okay? We're looking at why an event has happened. Okay, just going to move that up so we can see it. So we're looking at why that event has happened. So I'm going to box my command word explain, but we're looking at the causes. Okay, so this is an explanation question, so I'm going to need to have my explanation sentences ready. Now in the exam there's a lot going on, so I often think it's worthwhile just jotting your explanation sentences down. So this meant that, as a result, this led to. Just so I remind myself, you need to use these because that's where the marks are coming from. It's the explanation. The knowledge is fantastic, but you have to display your ability here to be able to explain. Now, the next thing that I need to deal with is this word dictatorship, okay? They are going to expect you to know this, okay? But I want to be kind to myself in the exam, so I'm just going to remind myself dictatorship means total control, okay? I'm breaking the question down so it's a little bit more accessible for myself. So explain why Hitler was able to gain total control. The next thing about the 12 marker, you must look at the dates you are given, okay? So we are given February 1933 to August 1934. Why this is important is it allows you to narrow down the knowledge you need to use. The Germany course is quite a big course, okay? You have to remember quite a lot. This actually helps you because it gives you a focus. What do I need to talk about? So if you start writing about why the Weimar government was unpopular between 1919 and the early 1920s, well, it's got nothing to do with the question. So you already know what you're writing about is nothing to do with this, okay? So please pay attention to the dates you are given. Now, before we go any further, the next thing we are going to look at is this little box here, because that will always appear for the 12 marker. So it says you may use the following in your answer. So it's referring to these two bullet points or stimulus points. Now, these are a choice, okay? You do not have to use them if you don't want to. They are there to help, not hinder. Now, as it happens, these two stimulus points are actually really nice. So I actually will write about these, but sometimes the examiners like to give us challenging stimulus points and they put us off. So if you come across one and you think, oh, I don't really know that one, just cross it out, put a line through it. You don't have to use it, okay? And the question does gently remind you, you must also use your own information. So you have to go beyond those two bullet points. So a gentle reminder to write 3P paragraphs. Okay, that's what we're going to aim for. You can absolutely create 2P paragraphs from those, and then you'd need to go beyond that to gain the top marks. So I am going to go on to looking at the Reichstag fire. I am going to use that to form my P paragraph, and I'm going to do some planning. I'm not going to jump into writing my P paragraph straight away, okay, but I am going to look at the Reichstag fire, okay. So I'm going to now take ownership over my paper. I'm going to plan. So the Reichstag fire, okay, how has the Reichstag fire allowed Hitler to gain complete control in the period February 1933 to August 1934, okay? I need to think about, so what? What is it about the Reichstag fire that allowed him, that facilitated him to create a dictatorship, okay? You must be asking those questions, okay? If I just write my point sentence, one reason why Hitler was able to create a dictatorship in the period February 1933 to August 1934 was because of the Reichstag fire, you haven't actually told me very much. You've just said the Reichstag fire, okay? That's a very simplistic point sentence, so we need to make sure our point sentence sets the tone, okay? It needs to be clear, it needs to be explicit. It's setting us up for the rest of the paragraph, so it needs to be good, okay? So I'm going to zoom in on the Reichstag fire, okay? So I need to give a little bit more detail, okay? So I know Hitler used, I'm going to abbreviate, the Reichstag fire to his advantage. Okay, and I'm going to note take here, as it allowed him to remove the communist threat. Now, when you're note taking, you can probably be even shorter than me with this, okay? You can abbreviate a lot more, okay? Now, I also know Hitler pressured Hindenburg to sign the Reichstag fire decree, which gave Hitler many powers. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm zooming in on the Reichstag fire. I haven't just been basic with it, I'm actually trying to develop where I can go with my P paragraph. Okay, so this is what your planning can look like. It can be even shorter than this, okay, but my point sentence now needs to really set the tone for what I'm about to do next, okay? So I'll show you what the point sentence could look like, okay? Now, my point sentence should always try to use the words in the question, okay? It's going to set the examiner up really nicely. It's really clear and it's concise, okay? So I'm going to start off with one reason why Hitler was able to create a dictatorship was because he used the Reichstag fire to eradicate the communist threat. Now that is just an example of a point sentence, okay? Now what I would like you to do next, okay, this is where you can have a go now at zooming in on one of the stimulus points. So I would like you now to use the stimulus points that I haven't written out, so the Night of the Long Knives, okay? So we're going to look at how the Night of the Long Knives, okay, I'm going to abbreviate here, Night of the Long Knives, how did this allow Hitler to form a dictatorship, okay? So you're going to zoom in on this event and you're going to create some of your notes yourself. You need to go beyond just saying, well, the Night of the Long Knives allowed him to create a dictatorship. Well, so what? What was it about the Night of the Long Knives that allowed him to take total control? Okay, so I'm going to allow you the time to do this. So can you pause the video and have a go at this activity? Okay, so hopefully you've had a little go at that yourselves. Maybe some of the things you might have mentioned was that Hitler was able to, again, eradicate threats, but within his own party. You could have mentioned some people that were actually removed, so you could have mentioned von Papen, Ernst Röhm. So essentially you are giving me some evidence and you are doing that planning. So hopefully this video has helped you understand how to approach the 12 marker, how you unpack this question, and certainly it's made you feel a little bit more confident now before we end up writing our P paragraph. What I'd advise next is you click on to the second video where I will take you through a model paragraph of one of the two stimulus points. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please come and speak to myself or Mr. Hutchins and we will happily help you.